Welcome to the new 2019 season of X's and Omar's, your one-stop shop for all things Miami Dolphins. Home for analysis, debates, discussion. I am Omar Kelly, Sun Sentinel Dolphins columnist. This is Dave Hyde, Sun Sentinel columnist. And we are here to detail and chronicle the tank of 2019. Dave, are you excited?
I'm on the bandwagon, the tank wagon. Let's all hop aboard.
And, you know, it's been a long journey for you Dolphin fans. We've suffered through 2 decades of mediocrity, and we've got a little bit more for you. Speaking of pain, we've been through a rough week of trades, cuts, releases. Some of the team's better players were shown the door after the 3rd preseason game. The formation of the 53-man roster saw the exit of T.J. McDonald, Dwayne Allen, Akeem Spence, John Denny, Tank Carradine, now Nate Orchard. These are all players who were expected to be starters on a pretty bad team, but the Dolphins decide, hey, you're not part of our future. We're going to push you out the door. Dave, you also saw the trade of Laremy Tunsil, Kenny Stills, Kiko Alonso. Kiko's probably the only one that didn't surprise you. Kenny, you kind of felt after the Jay-Z concert.
There's been a lot going on with Kenny.
The purges have continued, Dave. My question to you, is this the right approach to fixing this franchise?
You know what? If you're going to go down this road, now Laremy Tunsil I hesitate on because he's a guy they need to build for the future, okay? But I get what they're doing, and if you're going to go down this road, go down it all the way. Don't go halfway in the rebuild. And it's a bold. This is, in a weird way, my thought has always been tank is the last refuge of the dumb franchises. Okay, now.
Well, we have been a dumb franchise.
I was going to say, they inherited 20 years of dumb.
Okay,
and so maybe.
No, not fair. Chris Kerr's been part of 20 years of dumb.
Good point. Okay, good point, Omar. You correct me there, right? And so there's been 20 years of dumb with the Dolphins, okay? And so maybe, just maybe, these guys are smart enough to pull off this. Now, my only thing is if you're dumb, if you're so dumb you have to tank, you're not smart enough to build a team. Okay,
that's
and
a very fair and
that's going
valid
to be
point.
the real. It's easy to tear down, but to get back to the question about Laremy Tunsil and that trade. They needed to have some draft capital in case they don't get the #1 pick this year. I don't see how they don't, but in case they don't, okay, to have some flexibility. And I get that. I get that. My thought would have been trade Xavier Howard in March, not Laremy Tunsil in August, because you have a guy you need for your quarterback.
Hold it here, Dave. And I hear where you're coming from. And right now, based on what they're doing, it didn't make sense to sign Xavier Howard to that master deal, and probably would make more sense to move him right now. I'm sure he would be.
The trade market would have been so much bigger in March.
No, you got 2 first-round picks for Laremy Tunsil right now, as teams are saying, "Hey, we're this piece away from being a contender."
That
There
was
might
the
be.
exception. That was the exception. Houston's the exception because of they were so dumb with Jadeveon Clowney all along, right? And so
Yeah, but that wasn't part of this trade. They saw an opportunity to get Laremy Tunsil, a franchise left tackle, and we will not sit here and debate the fact that Laremy is a franchise left tackle.
Right. He's underrated nationally. I was on with some national people, like Mike Florio. Oh, well, he's just an average tackle.
No.
No, they haven't seen.
You haven't seen him at his.
Right.
You haven't seen him at his best, and Laramie's pushing for the money. Here's my thing about the Laremy Tunsil trade. I support it. It makes sense. If you offer me 2 first-round picks, there isn't a player that I'm going to say no for except for a franchise quarterback, even if they're 2 late first-round picks, and we don't know what's going to happen with Houston. But here's why the Laremy Tunsil trade makes sense from Miami. Their future quarterback is going to be a left-handed quarterback, which means your right tackle is going to be your premier blocker. Doesn't make any sense to pay your left tackle the highest salary an offensive lineman is going to receive in probably next offseason, which is what Laremy Tunsil is going to get, whether it be from the Dolphins or whether it be from Houston or somebody else in down the line. He is going to be a pace setter for contracts. Now, also, I know, and I could say this now that Laramie's gone, the maturity wasn't where you needed it to be with Laremy.
Right. Everybody knows that,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
It's no
So
secret.
you don't want to invest that much in him. I get, and I get the Tua being left-handed. We've all said that. The question becomes, you want to have an offensive line in place for your quarterback when he gets here.
Okay,
All
that's
right?
very true.
And
they got what, 13, 14 picks now?
there's no offensive line in place, though.
They've never built a successful one except for the Unicorns. God rest the soul of the Unicorns in 2016. They got lucky then. Maybe they get lucky in the future. But, Tunsil's gone. We didn't discuss Kenny Stills. That was your top receiver. That was your best receiver on the team. Say whatever you want about Kenny Stills, the kneeling, 24 touchdowns in 4 years.
Well,
the consistent playmaker.
You say the kneeling and all that is what got him kicked out of town. I mean, here I thought
it wasn't the kneeling.
Let's taking on the owner,
taking on the owner,
coach,
taking on
that whole thing.
Exactly.
And Flores is thinking, I'm going to have one of these every few weeks with Kenny Stills, and so let's just move it along. Here was a voice of dignity, I thought, for what he was going on, his social stance. Very invested in it, and I'm going to miss listening to and following along with some of the social causes he brought up, and I thought brought up with a voice of dignity. So, but in a team sport in football, you're seeing some teams just don't want to deal with that anymore.
Kiko Alonso now. This is a situation where you don't have much depth at this linebacker position. Now
you don't have much depth anywhere. They just brought in 13 new players.
Yes.
A quarter of the roster is basically waiver wire.
Yes, basically, and 4 of them are linebackers. Here's my problem with I don't have a problem with the Kiko Alonso move.
Right.
It was clear that some players did not want to be here. And be honest with you, a lot of players do not want to be here still to this day. Everybody wants off this train.
Even if they're not saying it.
Yeah.
Now with Kiko, that is a scheme fit. He just does not fit, and he doesn't play special teams. He's not a special teams player. So I get, of all the ones, he's in a better place.
But you traded him for a player.
Place?
Hold on.
They're all in better places.
You just moved him. Yes, they're all in better places, thank God. But you just moved him for a player in, his name is, Vince Beige. I don't even know how to say these players' names. It's 13 of them. Good God, the players in the locker room don't even know their names. But
it was funny.
He's on his 3rd team in 3 years. You do realize that.
It was funny, and I can't even say the guy's name either, but the last question to the new starting right tackle, it sounds like, for the Dolphins, right, was, how do you say your first name?
Yeah.
I mean, that's going on. Hello, my name is. We need those.
You need some hello, my name is in the locker room. Our first question comes from Rich Kaufman, who asks, after the recent roster purge and the trade of Tunsil, does this team have enough talent to win a single game this year?
No. I'm predicting 0-16. Now, the randomness, let's put it this way, Omar, they will not be favorites in a game.
Okay,
now, there's a
fair.
randomness quality of sports that it's pretty bold of me picking 0-16.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's the boldest thing you've said all year, Dave. I think they will sneak out 2 to 3 wins this year. I think the heat and humidity of South Florida, the fact that they want to play a physical, in-your-face, ground and pound style, I think that's going to wear out some opponent, especially some opponent.
Ground and pound. They have no line to play a ground and pound style.
They run block better than they pass block. Name me a talented player on offense right now.
Here, Omar, I think, though, look, they take it one loss at a time. They could go 0-16, which that's the goal, isn't it? If you're going to tank, what's the goal? What's the goal?
You got to win a game.
Here, I'm not.
You don't want to be historically bad. Who wants to be historically bad? Not me. Anybody raise your hand? You want to be historically bad?
Okay, I get they want to win a game.
Yes.
Okay, who's going to win it for them?
Kenyon Drake.
Okay,
Albert Wilson. Jakeem Grant. Xavier Howard. Xavier won like 2 games last year. They've got Rashad Jones. They have got enough playmakers. Ryan Fitzpatrick. Good God, Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you would have given him the roster he had week 3 of training camp, he might have snuck you out 5 wins.
Absolutely, I agree. With Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills, you have at least enough to say, okay, they'll
Yeah.
get a win or two.
The problem that I see with this team and the team that
We haven't got into injuries yet.
yeah,
Omar.
exactly. You're getting
talking
me.
those- we're
You're
getting to
me
the depth,
there.
right?
You're
Oh,
getting
sure.
me there. I've always seen it was a bad roster. Coming into the exhibition season, it was a bad roster. Coming out of the exhibition season, despite a 3-1 record, it was a bad roster. But it was a bad roster because they had absolutely no depth to it. And now, not only are you spending the first month of the season getting 13 players adjusted to being in South Florida and on a new team and in a new offense and in a new defense, but injuries are going to play into this. And you releasing TJ McDonald, where you had some depth at safety. You're releasing Akeem Spence, where you had some depth at defensive tackle. You making these decisions to go trade Kiko Alonso, and you're probably still going to try to trade Raekwon McMillan because he does not fit this defense.
I agree. There's a lot of guys, and if you're going to go down this road of gathering draft picks, keep gathering them for guys who aren't going to help you. Anyway, okay, next question from Nono Malavolo.
Boy, that was good, Dave.
Oh, I tried. I'm agreeing with the rebuilding (parentheses tanking process), but the movement of Tunsil, Stills, Taylor, Denny, and Alonso. I love John Denny being thrown in there. Feels like too much or came too late. In March would have been better, and now the team is like a joke. I feel betrayed, confused with these late movements.
Okay, so you got a 2-win team instead of a 6-win team. Isn't the point of this season to be as bad as you possibly can to get to it?
I think they've done a great job
They've
of being
been-
as bad as you can be, right?
I mean, there was some fear and concern that, Cincinnati and the New York Giants and a lot of people were going to be equally bad. Well, the Dolphins have taken care of business.
They are unanimous as the worst team. Now, we can get into the struggles of the schedule. They play Washington here in the 5th week coming off a bye. That will be a challenge for them to lose that game, Omar.
Listen, but the newcomers, they're important because Julian Davenport will likely be asked to play right tackle. I believe he's going to be the right tackle and
What did
not
he
the
play
left
in
tackle.
Houston?
He played both. He played both, finished the season at right tackle, started to trend upwards later in the season, but that means that Jesse Davis is going to have to play your left tackle. Does that make you feel comfortable, Dave?
Well, let's see. Jesse Davis, last year's right guard. Late in preseason, he moved to right tackle.
Right tackle.
Now he's a left tackle.
Yes, now he's a left tackle. Now, fortunately for Jesse,
It wouldn't make me happy if I was Jesse Davis, I tell you that.
No, it does not, but they've got him locked up for 2 years under controlled, restricted tenders. So they can do whatever they want with him. Unfortunately, that doesn't really bode well to the players, but this regime has shown you they don't really care. But Julian Davenport, more than likely going to be your right tackle. They added in trade 2 offensive linemen. Danny Isidora, former University of Miami player. He's probably going to be slotted to push Shaq Calhoun as the right guard. And then Evan Bowman, who is going to be the backup center, utility guard. That opens the door for Chris Reed. I know I'm talking offensive lineman. You feel like you want to fall asleep.
No, I'm amused because here we are, 4 days from the opener.
Yeah.
They got a new right tackle, new left tackle, maybe a new left guard, depending on how.
No, right guard.
Excuse me, right
Michael-
guard.
Michael
right.
Dieter
Dieter is
is
the left guard. I feel like I don't think I've been through a lot with the Dolphins. I don't think I've been through this before.
No, this is new. But here's what I like about this. They acknowledged it wasn't good enough. They went out and they made moves, other than basically shipping Tunsil away for draft picks. They made moves that said, hey, we need better talent here.
Come on. Let's go what this is. In the offseason, they got rid of anybody, age, expense, or wasn't going to be a part of here 2 years ago, from now, okay? Which is fine. They didn't replace any of them. None. So let's not talk, oh, well, it's good that they're bringing in players off the waiver wire who can step in and possibly start. That's all you need to know about where they are, right? Okay. Even though the Dolphins are embarking on a full-fledged youth movement, Miami still went with Ryan Fitzpatrick, a 14-year veteran, as a team starting quarterback. Clearly, the past moves indicate this team is about building and getting young players ready. So why not make Josh Rosen the starter?
Because Josh Rosen was not a good player during OTAs, training camp, and he was a little bit better in the exhibition season, but he doesn't have the confidence of his team. They don't believe in him.
What team? What team, Omar?
Whatever is left there. Whatever is left there.
Seriously, what team does he need the confidence in?
At some point, this organization is going to shift and pull the ripcord and inject hope into your bloodstream and say, hey, Josh Rosen's going to save your season.
No, he's not.
He's not.
No, of course he's not.
But he's going to keep
But
and sell tickets.
He's going to sell tickets. By then they'll be 0-7. You're not going to sell any tickets.
Hey, Dave, they'll be 1-6, not 0-7.
I think at this point, if he can't start now, and don't talk to me about, oh, well, he didn't beat out. There's a lot of guys starting who haven't beaten out anybody.
That's
okay?
true. That's
all right?
fair.
Let's go up and down the roster.
Ryan Tannehill never beat out anybody here in his Dolphins career.
Shaq Calhoun beat out.
Chris Reed.
I mean, that's why the offensive line coach was fired, because he didn't want to play the rookies. Okay, so beating out, not beating out, the whole idea is, well, if it's close, it'll be Josh Rosen's job. In August, it was close. Okay, for May and June.
August, it was close?
Oh, absolutely. In preseason games?
Oh, please.
What did Ryan Fitzpatrick do that you saw?
He had one good drive.
Oh, okay. That wins the job.
Oh yeah, that wins the job. But here's what people don't factor in, and what frustrates me and bothers me. You go and you watch 2 exhibition games where he looks somewhat decent. You didn't watch 40 practices where he looked mediocre as hell.
Admittedly, you watched 40. I watched 20.
There's no player on the team that thinks he should be the starter. But doesn't that say something to you?
Here's what it says to me. Here's what my point would be. You run a complete rebuild. What is a 36 going on 37-year quarterback who has never won a playoff game? Where are you going with that? So the idea would be you put Josh Rosen. Don't say it gives a chance to win.
No. This is not about winning. It gives you a better chance to get a better evaluation of everybody on your team.
Who on the offense do you need an evaluation of?
Devontae Parker, Albert Wilson,
Devontae Parker, he's hurt again.
No.
What do you need an evaluation for?
He's healthy right now on the depth chart. He's not on the injury report. Devontae Parker is not on the injury report.
I was just getting ready.
Listen, Preston Williams, Kenyon Drake, Kalen Ballage, Mike Gesicki.
You know who you really need an evaluation on? Because what this whole tanking thing is about, the quarterback.
He is not your future quarterback.
Okay,
he is not your future quarterback.
That is my point in all this. That's my point in all this. If he can't come in here and you don't see enough in 4 months, and I'm the one who, I've been saying all along, put Josh Rosen up, put him out there. If after 4 months you're saying, I don't see enough to put him out there, even in this tank job, in this complete teardown, then you're saying, you know what? Because there's only 6 or 7 or 8 franchise quarterbacks out there. He's not going to be one of them. He's not going to be one of them. We're moving on.
Let me share something with you that a player shared with me. He said, if Josh shaved his beard and switched numbers with Jake Rudock, we wouldn't know the difference. That's all you need to know.
See, that's and look, and people will say, "Oh, it's a wasted second-round pick." You know what?
It is.
No,
he's a cheap backup.
Here's my point: this franchise for 7 years, for 2 decades, has stuck too long without trying. You got to keep swinging at quarterbacks. They swung, and it looks like early on, and it's not the final chapter isn't written with Josh Rosen. He's going to get a chance this year, but it looks like a miss. Okay,
but when he does get his chance, here's what I want from the Dolphin fans: don't make excuses why he's not being successful.
I mean, like he has no line?
Yes, like he has no line.
Omar, it's a setup for failure.
It is a setup for failure.
It's a complete setup for failure.
The team is a complete setup for failure. But here's the thing: I've always said this, and I consistently say this: a good quarterback raises the tide of everybody around him. Now, Ryan Fitzpatrick is the starting quarterback because he's expected to raise the tide of this mediocre offensive line and these mediocre tight ends and these mediocre wide receivers.
Wait. That's not mediocre. This offensive line is not mediocre. It is bad.
We don't know that.
No, we do.
We don't know that.
Who's good on it? Individually, who's good? Who's mediocre?
Listen.
Okay, Jesse
Davis. I'm a member of the Jesse Davis fan club.
Right guard, Jesse Davis.
Right guard,
How's
Jesse
he at
Davis.
left tackle?
I don't know. Like, Daniel Kilgore could get the job done as a center. He's the leader of that unit. We know Michael Teeter has an upside. We just got to invest in the upside. Shaq Calhoun is a guy where players will say, you tell him something once, he gets it down. And he is going to be your best run-blocking guard. So here's the thing. If he can open up holes, yeah, he might be a liability in the passing game, but if he can open up holes for Kenyon Drake and Kalen Ballage, hey, who knows?
All right. Our next question comes from Lee Richland. Do you see Rosen as being any part of the future here, or do you think Finns are wasting time with him?
I don't think they're wasting time with him. I think that they've made it clear that they're not necessarily pleased with what they've seen. His grasp of reading, his inability to read defense, his late throws, the questionable throws. All of those things lead to Chad Henne. He reminds me so much of Chad Henne. I'm not interested in wasting time investing in Chad Henne. Like, why would you do that? Now, does he need to play this year? Absolutely. You're already tanking. Why not put the quarterback in there that delivered the first overall pick last year? We just not had this
conversation, yeah. And he said, don't play him?
No. Don't play him early. Give this.
Let him get 0-5 and then
yeah. Here's the problem that we have with this Dolphins season. These players thought they were coming into this year with a chance to win. They're working them like dogs.
They were.
They are. No, they're still doing it. Players complained yesterday.
They have not run sprints and all that. So I talked to a couple veterans earlier. We haven't run like this ever.
Yeah, they've said this has been the hardest training camp since Tony Sperano. Rashad Jones told me that, since it's very easy to detail who's been here around for the Tony Sperano. I'll just, listen, it is what it is. Brian Flores is establishing his culture. I get it. You can grind these players to death as much as you'd like. Eventually, without the results, there will be immunity. So let's just keep this ball rolling.
All right, Super Coop, in terms of player development, what two new players on offense or defense should we focus on?
To me, this season is about clearly the future. On offense, you got Preston Williams, young, talented, promising, immature wide receiver who needs opportunity, needs production, needs reps. And then you've got Kalen Ballage. I know Kenyon Drake is a starter, and Brian Flores is talking about how he's going to give him a ton of touches and carries and opportunities. That's cute, but we all know what Kenyon Drake is. He's a situational guy. Kalen Ballage could probably be the workhorse of this offense. And then you got, on defense, Jerome Baker and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Those two young players have to play like Pro Bowl caliber players this year. Not next year, this year. Jerome Baker, this entire defense is built around him. Minkah Fitzpatrick, he's going to be the Swiss Army knife that gets very specific roles to take away an opponent's strength. Let's see if he can do it.
You know what's odd about this preseason is the first big investment this new regime made, Christian Wilkins. Nobody's talking about him. To me, don't do that. This is their litmus test, okay? Are we any good? Are we making good decisions or not? This is a guy that he's going to get every chance to play this year. And we know defensive tackles usually in the league take a while to develop.
Dave,
but I want to see something.
You drafted a rotational defensive tackle in the first round. He's going to get 500 to 600 snaps. What do you expect in those 500 600 snaps?
I expect to see something that's why they drafted him.
Okay.
Number one, this was the first big investment this regime made, right? All we heard, every move they made, we're going to build through the draft. There is their centerpiece of their first.
You know what they also said? We're going to build the trenches. We're going to be strong in the trenches.
That's true.
And their weakest area are the trenches. Like, what happened? What happened here?
What happened?
What happened?
All right, Dustin. What's the contingency plan if Tua doesn't come out? Tank again in 2020. I think it's a 2-year tank, Omar. I'm on board. This is a 2-year tank. Yeah. Woo, get up on that tank wagon.
Listen, I don't think it's a 2-year tank. I don't believe that either individual can survive a 2-year tank. However, there are some talented quarterbacks in this draft. Justin Herbert, who's got the prototype size. He struggled in his first game. I'm not necessarily a Herbert fan. Jake Fromm.
You're not going to give these guys the year to play out? Here's the thing. They don't.
I do want to give them the year to play
okay,
out. I do. I am going to watch college football more closely.
Because it will be more relevant than
Oh,
Sundays
absolutely.
for
Oh,
the
absolutely. I am watching every single one of these quarterbacks every single game.
Were you on Jake Fromm early on?
People that I respect really like him and think that he eventually could be the guy. Now, I need to see him lead Georgia to a national championship, dethrone Alabama for me to believe that. Or I need to see an effort like you saw from who's Cleveland's quarterback?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield. For me to buy into the.
What about Jalen Hurts? Looked pretty good in that Oklahoma offense. Speaking of.
Yeah, I mean he's okay. I'm a Jordan Love guy. Jordan Love is the Utah State quarterback. I see so many things that I like from him, but it's super early. Let's see how this all plays out. But I know the one I want is Tua. That touch, that pocket presence, ability to throw on the run, a savviness to him, a leadership moxie. I like everything about him. And in January, I said, okay, need to tank this season for that quarterback because I think this is the cleanest prospect coming into this draft since Andrew Luck.
You better, speaking of Andrew, you better get a line to help him then. Otherwise,
yeah.
So what happened to Andrew Luck? All right. Clark Zimmerman says, tank for Tua. What happens if Tua pulls an Elway or Steve Young and refuses to go to Miami? Woo-wee! That's interesting. There's one I haven't thought of.
I think then it becomes a 2-year tank. It makes me very uncomfortable when people say that, but it's true. John Elway did that. Steve Young did that. Eli Manning did that. But here's the thing: I can't see any reason why they wouldn't want to be part of the Dolphins. Well, yeah.
Come on, Omar.
Yeah, I mean, it's
look at this offense again. Start with the offensive line.
Let's say here before the draft they invest money in offensive linemen. They invest resources in fortifying the trenches. They go out and get they've got a ridiculous amount of cap space. Not that it makes sense because they're not planning to spend it. But let's say they do spend it. I think from a tax standpoint, from a location standpoint, from a media market standpoint, everybody in the NFL wants Miami to be relevant because they want road trips here.
I don't care about media market. You care about your career and what type of an organization you're stepping into. And we don't know enough really about this the new organization to.
Oh, we know enough about this organization. They just do dumb crap all the time. But it is what it is. These are your Dolphins. Now, speaking of the Dolphins, it's clear that Chris Grier is driving this train, considering the moves that he's made the past week are about the future, not exactly putting the team at a competitive spot to field a good team on Sundays. Do you think that Brian Flores is fully on board with what's going on here in South Florida?
Well, I'm sure look, Chris Grier has control over the 52. He has control over who comes in and who's on the roster, which is a little unusual. But Brian Flores knew what he was stepping into. Mm-hmm. Okay, he knew these are all big boys, and they knew where their careers were.
He got a 5-year guarantee contract.
Usually you get 4, and that was a tip-off that what was going on for anybody, veteran Dolphin observers or league observers that 5 years. So now you see why he's getting 5. So I'm sure there's an individual decision here or there that, like any organization, they're going to have disagreements. But the big picture, everybody's on board with this.
Here's the problem that I have that I think might be an issue moving forward. This team feels like Brian Flores has been a fraud so far. He's talked a great game, talked about, hey, you do all the right things, and we're going to give you opportunity. That a perfect example of this, and it was brought up to me yesterday by a player. Nate Orchard did everything they asked. Nate Orchard won a starting spot on this team. Nate Orchard was cut the day before their first practice.
Well, I'm not gonna draw the line at Nate Orchard. I mean, he's been what's his 4th team?
I mean, no. He got cut by Cleveland, and yes, he's had a rough go in a 1-year span. But here's the thing: he's a good scheme fit for this team in particular. And I would argue to use your top pass rusher. He was your top pass rusher, better than Charles Harris.
That's scary in itself. But that is scary. Here's where I'm going to give Brian Flores wide latitude this year. Okay. And I get where you're coming from, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but the big brunt of this tanking season falls on his shoulders. Day to day, he's going to wear it. Day to day, he's going to answer for it. Day to day, he's got to face the players for it. Or the others sit up in their front office. And so I'm going to give Brian Flores wide latitude. As, his first-year coach coming in here, and yes, there are standards, and yes, there's a bar of what he's got to do. But, I'm not going to go on each.
You got to be competitive on Sundays. You got to take.
How's he going to be competitive with this roster?
I don't care. That's your job as a coach. I don't care. That's your job as a coach. I'm not saying you got to deliver a win, but it can't be blowout after blowout after blowout. It can't be we're not putting our team in the best situation to win. The value and beauty of Brian Flores is, we create the scheme to take on each particular opponent and take away their strengths and limit their weakness, and exploit their weaknesses. Okay, well, you got to show me you can do that. Because if you can't show me you can do that, then the players are going to be like, oh, you're a fraud. And I don't believe the things that you say, especially when you're grinding us to death in these practices.
Omar, what wins in this league? Talent. So we know he doesn't have much talent. So you're going to grade him. His schemes aren't winning. Look, let's be realistic.
Put players in position to be successful. That's your job as a coach. No matter what talent that you've given, put players in position to be successful.
We know what this year is about. Let's not talk about it in normal team grading terms, okay?
I didn't say they got to win. I said they got to not embarrass themselves. They got to not get humbled every single game. Yeah, the Ravens, tough matchup. They're going to come in here and punch them in the face. And Miami's going to have to handle the physicality. But the next week, can you as the coach pick your team up, create a game plan to put them in position to be successful against next week's opponent?
Who's that?
New England. Patriots.
New England. Here come the world champs. Here come the world champs.
It's a team you know. It's a team you know.
Come on, Omar. You're not going to hold Brian Flores to that standard. He's accepted it. He knew what he was stepping into.
That check clears.
Cleared. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But again, I'm giving him a wide latitude considering he's going to be wearing the troubles. This is really going to fall on him this year.
Now, the question is, can he coach? How are we going to assess and analyze whether or not he can coach?
That's a great question because, again, I don't expect him to be that competitive this year. Now, what you're going to look at is individual player development. That's really what we're going to with this year. How many people do you come in the season with question marks that by the end of the season you're saying, okay, that's something they can build with. That's something that they can carry into next year. Okay. That's how I'm judging what they're doing this year.
Christian Ben asks, do you see this staff and front office trying to create a New England approach where they always put the team first, don't overpay, and let guys go when they are done?
Look, everybody wants that. If that's your New England, everybody, you know what? Throw in there and a Tom Brady at franchise quarterback. Everybody wants that. You know what? The difference with the Dolphins this year is their owner said, go lose. I'm okay with losing. How many owners have you ever heard say, go ahead, lose. We don't care. We'll lose. We want to get it right. You rarely hear, I've never heard a Dolphin owner say that before, that it's okay to lose. And very few NFL franchises teams and owners would be accepting of an awful season that's coming.
I am supportive of this plan because I see what's at the end of the tunnel, hopefully if it doesn't get injured. And hopefully if it comes out in the draft. And hopefully if it says, hey, I'll play for any team but the Miami Dolphins, which are all possibilities, unfortunately. But my problem is you want to build this New England culture. Okay, there are a lot of players who would not play for New England. Now, I understand there are some that will, but they want to play for New England because of the success and the winning. That culture don't work without the success.
I'll take a little less money.
Yeah.
I'll take some of the crap from that's going on there because we're winning on Sunday. And boy, is that a fun feeling.
Yes.
If you get all that without the winning, that's when it becomes troublesome.
And that's where I think we could be headed into trouble. And yes, they're going to purge the roster, and they're going to get rid of all the players who cry and whine about how hard practices are and blah, blah, blah. And get it. Brian Flores, do what you going to do. However, there is a line that I've seen, I've been here 11 years, when the players check out on their coach, it's a wrap. It's over. And the one thing that Brian Flores cannot do is have his players check out on him.
And that's, of all this stuff, it becoming a clown show.
Yes.
Is the real fear and legitimate fear of the coaching staff, of the front office, of some of the players I talk with. And
this is a very fine balancing line that you have to walk. And my thing is, once they check out, okay, you could purge the roster once. Adam Gase did that. And then they checked out again. There's no returning from that. And that's the line that they're going to have to walk. Yeah, everybody on this roster, except for maybe Xavier Howard if he isn't moved, they're not safe. They probably even want to be gone out of this organization. Everybody. But at some point, what remains, they got to buy in. And if they don't believe, you're in trouble.
Well, you're going to have to do a whole new, on the end of this season, there's going to be a whole new sales job and narrative coming out of it, as there has to be. Everybody knows what this season is about. The question is it treated like a real team and a real season? And that's what I'm struggling with as a columnist.
Yeah.
And as we sit here and talk, do you talk about it as a look, their lines are awful. Their lines have the potential to be really, really bad. And if you don't have good lines,
no good lines, no depth, no playmakers, no proven established playmakers.
And that's how it was set up to be, right? So do we rip the players and the coaches for not having good lines? No, you understand, okay, this is the process going on.
Jesse Munoz asks, is the 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick from the Texans for Tunsil, Stills, and a 4th, is that an acceptable trade?
Well, by all historical and natural grades, it's a great trade for the Dolphins. Okay, you don't get 2 first rounds and a second for a left tackle. So from all
left tackle,
grade,
you're going to have to sign to a new contract.
To big money. So you have to add the big money into that too. Mm-hmm. That's 2 or 3 other players on a 50-man roster. So it's essentially you're talking 5 players. But what makes it for what the Dolphins are trying to do, again, you need some draft day flexibility. If you don't somehow get that pick that you want, you got to have some pieces to move.
Okay.
Now, the scary part, again, to me, is you're going to bring in a franchise quarterback, and you want some rocks there in front of them to protect them, and they don't have anything like that right now. And so, again,
they do have the best offensive line coach, one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL, in Dave Guglielmo.
Wait.
He coached the best unit last year.
He's fired by the Patriots.
Okay, that happens.
He's been on like 10 teams. So if he's so,
who coached the best unit in the NFL last year? I'm just saying.
He coached. Just last year.
Last year.
Why did Bill Belichick fire him? Why did the Dolphins fire him twice?
They didn't fire him. New regimes came in and they wanted their own people. You know how that works, Dave.
Well, I do, but he's been fired twice by the Dolphins.
All right. He's
so
also been
hired
3 times by the Dolphins. He's also been hired 3 times by the Dolphins.
He's the greatest coach of all time.
Maybe he's got a quirky personality that rubs people the wrong way, Dave.
I'm just not going to go elevate. He's the greatest offensive line coach out there.
He's one of the best offensive line coaches. He's well respected in the league. He coached the best unit in the Indianapolis Colts last year. Yeah, they fired him because they hired him before their new head coach came in. Okay, things happen. He's here now. He led Brian Flores to fire a coach 1 week in the training camp.
Let's see how good he is. Okay.
We will indeed.
You're going to be judging that.
I will indeed be judging. He's familiar with my work. I'm familiar with his work. We're going to be critical.
All right, Omar Fabian, what is something Dolphin fans can look forward to this season?
Oh, I think the development of Jerome Baker. I think he is blossoming into a star. I think he's going to lead the team in tackles. I think he's going to lead the team in sacks. I think this whole defense is going to be built around him. The only concern I have is whether or not he's going to be healthy enough. To Albert Wilson, the return. Hey, Albert Wilson was leading the NFL in yards after catch before he got injured last year with the hip injury. Now the question is he fully recovered? Jakeem Grant. Everybody in the world thinks Jakeem Grant's a sensational player. He's $5 million a year.
No, I think everybody thinks in a certain role he can be a nice player on a good team.
Oh, okay. That's a gadget player, huh?
Well, look, Albert Wilson has a certain role too, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to be a number 1 or number 2 receiver.
Maybe he is. I don't know.
You know.
I don't
You
know.
know.
I don't know.
Put him on a Super Bowl team. Is he a number 1 or number 2? He has a nice role. He can make. You'd love to have him to play with in your set, your tool chest, but. Right?
Kenyon Drake, very unique individual player, 9 touchdowns, 1,019 yards last year combined. I think he's like a Kevin Falk-esque type talent on this team.
Get him in space. And he's a nice player. The question is, can he get you, when there's 1 yard there, can he get you 3 yards? And we haven't seen that, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of things we haven't seen, and it'll be interesting to see.
Let me answer this. What do you look forward to this season? I think we're going to be looking forward to the end. To me, and I hate to go into a season saying that, but this whole season's built up to get to the end of the season.
Yeah, man. Celebrate each loss.
One loss at a time, Omar.
One loss at a time. Enjoy it. Hope Alabama.
24-hour one losses.
Hope Alabama protects Tua, gets him healthy to you.
That's the big thing.
Yeah,
that's the big thing.
He's battled some injuries
He's
throughout
had a
his
couple
career.
knee injuries.
Yes, he's kind of tiny. He's about 6 foot.
I'm keeping an open mind with the quarterbacks. Okay.
Okay. So
we
you're not
understand. We understand Tua's the favorite, but I'm keeping an open mind. It's a long season. You don't have to make the decision now.
I don't have to make the decision now, but I know who I want.
Okay, Omar, prediction time. What's your prediction for the Dolphins?
I am going to predict a 2-win season. I think they might even pull off a victory on Sunday.
Optimist.
Listen, here's the thing. I know their wins are going to come at home. This heat and humidity is going to wear down on some teams. Probably a team, in the mid-season, who's just
Cincinnati.
Like
We're watching in week 5, baby.
Who thinks Miami's a bye week?
Trap game. The Dolphins are the quintessential definition of trap in the trap game.
Yes. Everybody's going to take them lightly, and I think they're going to sneak up on some teams. You catch them on the right day, they might deliver a victory. And you don't want too many. But they might deliver a couple.
Catch them on the right day, they might deliver a victory. That is optimistic thinking.
Right? Xavier Howard can't pull down 2 interceptions in a game. Jerome Baker won a game for the Dolphins last year. Those 2 players won 3 games for the Dolphins. They're still here. So who knows? Ryan Fitzpatrick, we know. He had a 100 quarterback rating last year, Dave. 100 quarterback rating.
And he was benched.
Come on. For Jameis Winston, for the future.
All right. I think 0-16. I can't pick any. I think they're going to go into every game as the underdog. Now, the random quality of sports, yes, I don't disagree.
Any given Sunday, Dave?
Any given Sunday, but you know what? I think they're going to be down for it, and they have a chance to go lose them all. So I'm going to go 0-16.
Ooh, that's going to be painful, Dave. I've been through 2007. That was painful. I expect this to be just as painful. Well, Dolphin fans, we appreciate you coming and watching X's and Omar. We will be back on our regularly scheduled day, Wednesday. Hurricane threw us off a little bit, but looking forward to hearing from you on X's and Omar. Omar Kelly, Dave Hyde.